example, 1/2 plus another 1/2. Now, before we solve this, let us look at how it looks like in the figure when we add it, so we will understand the concept of adding these two fractions. 1/2 plus 1/2. So if we will add it, these two shaded parts will be combined and it becomes like this, which is the same as a whole without the slice. So we will expect that the answer will be equal to 1. So here's the rule for adding fractions. We copy the common denominator and add the numerators. So let us solve this. It's equal to copy the denominator, which is 2, and add the numerators. That is 1 plus 1 equals 2. So now this is 2 over 2. How did we get 1? We divide 2 divided by 2. That is equal to 1. As long as it can be divided or it can be reduced to the lowest form, we always do that to get the final answer. Another example, 3/5 plus 1/5. So this is how it looks like for 3/5, 3 shaded part out of 5, plus 1/5, 1 shaded part out of 5 parts, equals 4 shaded parts out of 5, or 4/5. So we will expect an answer of 4/5 if we solve this. So copy the denominator, 5, and the numerator is 3 plus 1, that is 4. 4/5, that's the final answer. Another example, 5/8 plus 1/8. So this is 5/8 plus 1/8, or 1 out of 8. So that is equal to, combining it, it will be 6 out of 8, or 6/8. So if we solve it, copy the denominator 8, add the numerators 5 plus 1 equals 6, or 6/8. But this is not yet the final answer because it can be reduced. When can you say that it can be reduced? If the numerator and denominator can be divided by a common number or the same number, where this 6 and 8 are both divisible by 2. So divided by 2, this is equal to 3/4, and 3/4 is the final answer. But our figure on top doesn't look like 3/4. However, it is actually the same as 3/4 if we remove the slice that is horizontal. So it is actually the same as 3/4 without the slice in the middle. Another example, 3/4 plus 1/8. This time, the denominators are not the same. But this is not that hard because 8 is a multiple of 4. That means we can just multiply the 3/4 by 2 to make it the same denominator. So, before that, let's look at first the figure. That's 3/4 and 1/8. So it's totally different figures, and we cannot combine them. So let's multiply the denominator by 2. But rule for fraction is whatever you do to the denominator, you will do the same to the numerator. So since we multiply it by 2, we will do the same to the numerator. So 4 times 2, that's 8. 3 times 2, 6. Now it is 6/8, but our figure shows it's 3/4. So how does it look like 6/8? Since we multiply it by 2, then the figure will not multiply by 2, but it's actually the opposite. It will be divided into 2. So as you can see, it is now 6/8. So we can add the two figures since it is having same parts, it's 8 parts. So that means it becomes 7/8. So solve it, copy the denominator 8 and add the numerator 6 plus 1, 7/8. Another example, 2/3 plus 1/2. Now it's totally different denominator. It is not multiple with each other. So, but we have to make the same denominator so that we can add them. So this is the 2/3 and 1/2. So obviously they are totally different and we cannot just simply add them by using the figures. As I said, we can multiply them by a number so that it is the same denominator. So for 2/3, it's times 2, and for 1/2, it's times 3. So the purpose of this is for them to have the same denominator. The denominator can be the least common denominator, or it can be any common denominator. So this time, it is the least common denominator is 6. So that means we want to make both denominators 6. But it can be also possible for 12, 18, and any other number as long as it's a common denominator, it's a common number, common multiple for 3 and 2. So multiply the denominators, 3 times 2, 2 times 3, they become 6. And for 2 times 2, 4, 1 times 3, 3. So now it's 4, 6, and 3, 6. How about the figures? Since it is multiplied by 2, in the figure it will be divided by 2 for each part. There, so it is now 4, 6. Same as the 3, 6, each part will be divided by 3 instead of times 3. So it's actually the opposite. So adding all the shaded parts, it is 7/6. And we cannot put the 7 shaded parts in a whole that is only having 6 parts. So this is the 6 out of 6, but the remaining 1 out of 6 will be in another figure. So that is 6 out of 6 and another 1 out of 6. So that is a whole and 1/6. So we expect to get a whole and 1/6. So copy the denominator 6 and add the numerator 4 plus 3 is 7. So now we will change this improper fraction into mixed form. So 7/6, 7 divided by 6. So you'll get 1 as a quotient and another 1 which is actually the remainder. So we put the quotient as a whole number and the remainder as the numerator. So that's 1 and 1/6. So in our figure, it's actually 1 and 1/6. So if we move the slices for the figure on top, so that's actually a whole and 1/6. Another example, what if it is a mixed form, 1 and 2/3 plus 2 and 1/2. So this is 1 and 2/3 plus 2 and 1/2. So it's actually the same, the 2/3 and 1/2. We just added some whole numbers, one whole and two wholes in the other. So it is equal to, so just put all the wholes and add the fractions, the 2/3 and 1/2, where we have the answer a while ago, that is 1 and 1/6. So that means there are 4 wholes and 1/6. So we're expecting to get an answer of 4 and 1/6. So which is there, 4 and 1/6 using the concept. So let's have another example, 2/3 and 1/2. We repeat this, the same example, 2/3 and 1/2, because I want to show you how to solve it the fastest way. A while ago, I have shown you the concept of adding fraction, but there are times that we want to solve it as fast as we can, since we already understand the concept of it. We need to learn the concept as well because we want to easily remember it, but still we want to solve it the fastest way. So this is a shortcut to add fractions. So to get the denominator, we multiply the denominators. 3 times 2, that is 6. Then 2 times 2, that is 4. Then 3 times 1, that is 3. To cross multiply. 4 plus 3, that is 7 out of 6. And then change it to mix. Dividing 7 by 6, that's 1 and 1/6. So that's it. That's how fast it is. Same way if it's mixed form. 1 and 2/3 plus 2 and 1/2. So we're going to separate each part. 1 plus 2/3 plus 2 plus 1/2. So we're going to add the whole numbers. 1 plus 2, 3. The sum of 2/3 and 1/2, which we have already answered. 1 and 1/6. And then combine 3 and 1 and 1/6. That's 4 and 1/6.